let's hear it for highest good. Woo, thank you so much. That was fabulous. Let's take a deep breath. And I'm so grateful to be here. A week ago, I was watching on my couch because I had my second day of COVID. So I'm feeling like a kid in a candy store being out and about with people. This is most people I've been around for quite a while. But I have a particular love for the fact that we have people who are live streaming us. Welcome, welcome. And as we begin our prayer today, we're going to just take a lot of things into our heart. First and foremost is our member, Danette Harris, and her family. Her father made his transition yesterday afternoon. So we carry them in our hearts, and we extend our love, our prayers, our support, and our peace across the world today as we recognize that there are forces going on that are necessarily circumstances we cannot personally change, but what we work on is how we think about them, and that's what today is all about. So let's just have a moment with our eyes closed and our hearts open. Take a moment of silence. As we recognize that there is only one power, one presence, one infinite intelligence, one love, one mind, only one thing going on here: divine love. I know that divine love moves through and flows through each one of us, every person, place, and thing in this planet. And I honor that place in us where the entire universe resides. I honor that place in us of love and light, truth and peace. And I honor the power within us to be consciously aware today of our own indwelling divinity and the indwelling divinity in all humanity everywhere, no exceptions. It is this that we say namaste to, and we let it be, and so it is, amen. Thank you. And now if you would please join with me in our invocation. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, the all-loving presence of God. You may be seated.
Love, everybody, love. When it's hard to love, our loving will change the world. Let's sing that again. And love, everybody, love. When it's hard to love, our loving will change the world. Share, we share who you are, and share. When it's hard to share, our sharing will change the world. Oh, and finally singing for you, arms wide open, what we came to do. And within the dream is a melody true. Love everybody, the love shine through. Everybody sing and sing all together. Sing when it's hard. Our loving will change the world. Yes, it will. Yes, it will.
Thank you, Highest Good. Before I start, I just want to acknowledge not only all of our wonderful performers in Highest Good, but just everybody that has been in service in this center, not just today, but in the days leading up to today. It takes an absolute village for this church to be all that it is and all that it is becoming. And so to all of you who've been in service, I just pay great homage and respect. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm going to encourage that you honor yourself for being here, and those of you who are online, honor yourselves for tuning in, being here. There are so many places we could be on this planet. And I would like to encourage you to know that there is no accident that you are here today. We are here by a divine invitation. We are here for a reason, to have this collective experience together. And so I just encourage you now, just take a moment and turn to your friends and say, Namaste. The divine in me honors and recognizes the divine in you. Well, you know, something happened this weekend and now there's an elephant in the room. A global something that's happening in and through all of us, which to some degree changed a bit of the trajectory of the talk that Michael and I chose to give today, but not entirely. The song that we just sang, we actually had chosen that song a few days ago, working with Kim Char. Love, love, love everybody. What the heck? Even when it's hard to do, well, thank you. You gave me a little disclaimer there, right? And you know, that's what we're going to talk about today, because there's different levels of love, and we're not talking about sentimental love. We're talking about a higher idea, and divine love is that higher idea that transcends all of the appearances, but not immediately. So perfectly timed when Michael and I sat down and worked on how we could do this message for you together. We always choose the talk that we need to hear. And so this is the one we felt we really needed to hear. And that's the title of our talk today, is The Power of a Beginner's Mind. You know, The Power of a Beginner's Mind was actually the very title of the very first talk that I ever heard back in about 1994 when I went to California and went to a retreat there. And the very first speaker of a whole week of fabulous speakers from all over the world, the very first speaker gave a talk called The Power of Beginner's Mind. And I remember she used an analogy. She said, you know, one of the hardest people to teach tennis to are people who already know how to play. And I'm having a bit of an experience of that right now, because one of my Christmas presents that my husband, my darling husband, gave me, and I really wanted this, is piano lessons. And I'm pretty excited about that because I haven't played a piano. I have a keyboard that we got me a few years ago, but I played piano back when I was in my, 8, 9, 10-year-old beingness, and played into my teens, at which point it got ditched. And, I would just play things that I could remember. And so I'm having the experience now of being a beginner at the piano at the age of 73 young years. And I can remember my little self being able to play these now songs I've got. They have little stickers on the songs, like little kitty stickers and stars, And I am absolutely in the place of being a beginner again, but not there. I'm not wanting to go back. I need to go forward. I need to have the beginner's mind, to be, that old analogy about my cup is so full that they can't put any more tea into it, right? So I have to empty my cup of what I know so that I can allow in something. You know, Buddhist term is beginner's mind. And what beginner's mind really is humility. And we're not talking about humiliation, although how many of us have felt humiliation when we have that place of beginner's mind. But the definition that I like of beginner's mind is the point of willingness to learn. So, what's that got to do with where we are? I thought what I'd do is I kind of dust off our unity principles, because we really work with, there's 5 unity principles, and unity is a wonderful denomination in a theology, a thought school, and a global thought school called New Thought. And unity has 5 what we call principles. Now, principles are things that are going to work the same for everybody. Just like laws, you know, they aren't going to work for Kim, Char, and Cindy and not for other people. You know, all of us are going to sometimes, maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. It's like mathematics. 2 + 2 is 4 no matter who's using the principle. So what we want to do is kind of look at what are these principles we've got, because they make a big difference in terms of how we are perceiving the world. And we're going to tie that in today, because one of the things that Michael and I are devoted to here with all of you is that we leave here today with something practical to walk away with, that we can hang on to this week as we go into this rather extraordinary unknown that we have entered as a globe. So the first principle is stated many different ways. And let's put that slide up. God is all there is. Everywhere present, the infinite creative energy of love. What does that mean to you? God is all there is. Is that something that we made up in unity, or is that something that has been there down through time? Hermes the Great in antiquity said, God is an infinite sphere, the circumference of which is nowhere, and the center is everywhere. Which really does tie in, and I'll show you that in a minute in our second principle. But God is all there is, everywhere present, infinite creative energy of love. Well, in the science of quantum physics, the way that's stated is the universe appears fundamentally inseparable. We are at the cusp here in our world where science and spirituality truly have begun to meet more and more. Because so much of what has been intuited down through millennium is what's being discovered now through the science of quantum physics and quantum mechanics. And they can actually overlap, and it's fascinating stuff. But all we need to know is there is a validation of the fact that God is all there is. And so if God is all there is, in our second slide, human beings are individual, eternal expressions of God, and are inherently divine. We often say, and are inherently good, but I took that word out and put divine for a reason. Because there's different definitions of the word good. And the word good in this instant would not mean the opposite being bad. There's a different level of good. So we're going to look through it through the lens of the idea of divinity. We are all divine. It's all we are. We can't not be divine, because there is only divinity. There is only this one thing going on. We call it God the good. Again, I took that word good out because it can really rankle, because how can God be good and see what's going on in Iran today? But when we think about God as divine nature, and that there's only one thing happening going on, then what we can begin to do is introduce the possibility that something bigger than we can see is going on here. And we can learn how to think about that. The Spirit of God is within every being. Here in Unity, we often refer to that idea as Christ consciousness. And for anyone who's new to this teaching, oftentimes when we hear Christ consciousness, we think of Jesus' last name was Christ. And that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the meaning of the word Christ, which is anointed or enlightened. So it is the enlightened or the anointed consciousness, the higher idea, not looking at the appearances, but because we can move beyond being moved by appearances, it is true that appearances can move for us because we move mind. When mind moves, we move appearances. So let's look at our third principle, and these work for all, and we're using them all the time. We create our life experiences through our thoughts and our feelings and beliefs. And in Unity, we often kind of synopsize that by saying thoughts held in mind, what? Yeah, produce in kind, right? Thoughts held in mind produce in kind. So another, in the quantum, another name for God is the field. And what they say in quantum physics is that all the field is comprised of is infinite waves of possibility and potentiality. And hear that word infinite. Never ending. Infinite waves of potentiality and possibility. And what they say is that it takes observation by some form of consciousness to focus upon it for a wave to become a particle. And it is the particle that begins to move into visibility. It's how manifestation occurs. Way beyond my pay grade, but I take this to heart. I believe that it looks like that's the way it works. So the idea that there's a power greater than we are and we can use it. And the way we're using it is also through a science. It's called cause and effect. It's called spiritual law. What we think about, we bring about. We have another one of our wonderful principles, which is that affirmative prayer and meditation are the primary spiritual tools that we use. So this is scientific spiritual use of mind. We're not talking about penitent prayer. Oh, please, God, out there, outside of me. No, we pray through. And for that which we choose to experience, we pray from. Because in that mind, the mind that we use, the infinite mind, there is no past, present, and future. And so what we do is we go to what it is we desire to experience. And we conjure that up. And then we pray from that. In fact, one of the wonderful Unity teachers, Eric Butterworth, says the definition of prayer comes from a Sanskrit palal, which means to know myself as wondrously made. And then pray from that. Whoa. All that in a bag of chips, right? And then the fifth is knowing these principles is not enough. It is a choice to live from the truth that we know. That's our fifth principle. One of the other founders of the religious science movement, which is part of New Thought, used to make this statement, information without application is hallucination. So we get information, but without application, it's just entertainment. And we look to somebody else to be doing it. One of the amazing things that's going on here that's maybe a hard nut to swallow is a lot of us have grown up on the belief that the white horse and the white hat are coming to save us. What is being believed collectively now is there's no one coming. Why? Because it's here. It's in this room. It's online. We are that whom we have been waiting for. New Thought is a study of life and the nature of the laws of thought. We are learning about the laws of cause and effect. And what we contemplate in the law of cause and effect is not what we don't want. But yet we pay a lot of attention to what we don't want, don't we? We think about, whoa, we don't want that. I want that to go away. I want them to stop. I want that to be fixed. Somebody fix that. Rather than going to the heart of the matter, which is our divinity, and recognizing, what do I want? What do I want to see? I love a quote. I'm a crazy Wayne Dyer, devotee. Wayne Dyer says, the law of flotation was not discovered by the contemplation of the sinking of things. A great quote. He said, the law of flying was not discovered by contemplating the law of staying on the ground of things. So we work with what is it we want. And here's the thing about laws. They're like principle. They work for everyone all the time. And it's how we work them, because we don't get what we want. We get who we are. So the work is around who am I and how do I see things differently. So I'm about to do the handoff for Michael, who's going to take this into some practical application. But before I do, I want to bring into our hearts what's been also going on in this world that has had such an impact. And that is the beautiful procession of the pilgrim monks that have begun a process all the way back in October. And for 2,300 miles walked barefoot, sometimes really barefoot, all the way from Fort Worth, Texas, all the way to Washington, D.C. Every step taken with mindfulness. I listened to an interview with the Venerable Bhikkhu Panakara, who is the first monk that you saw, and he was generally the one that had Aloka, the beautiful peace dog, on the leash. And if you aren't familiar with this, please Google this and give yourself a gift today and see some of the YouTubes and videos. But this is what I wanted to share with you, some of the words he said when he was being interviewed by one of the radio stations. He said that seeing so many people turn out touched his heart, but it also made him sad because he knew that by seeing all these people coming out, millions of people coming out, the way they were coming out, crying and being there for him and for the group, he said he knew that it was because they were suffering. And the suffering made him sad. He said violence, disharmony, lack of unity here and around the world. And they did the walk because they were doing it simply to raise awareness. That was their mission, to walk in peace and exemplify it. Not to be the great example that stands alone, but to help other people also participate, you and me. I think every one of us that sees them feels differently just to see them. He said, our goal is to bring awareness of peace to all people. And he said, along the way, they did run into haters. He said people cursed them. People shouted at them. I don't think anybody threw anything, but they definitely protested them being on the road. And he said, but it didn't bother us. He said, we do not let anything else out there bother us. He said, peace with a condition, that is not peace, and it will not last. In any condition, when we may stay calm, cool, and patient, that is when peace begins. That is the real peace. Millions and millions now join in a practice that he taught everywhere he went, and you get to learn it today, a very simple practice that I have also begun. He said every morning when you get up, take a pen, take a piece of paper, and write on it, today is going to be my peaceful day. Everywhere they went, 2,300 miles, a swath that went all the way from Fort Worth all the way to the steps of the Capitol. In every group that they addressed, everywhere they went, the message was clear. Today is going to be my peaceful day. Love, love, love everybody. Love, love, even when it's hard to love. Love. Our loving will change the world. The world it will change is yours and mine, and we are the origin of the ripple. Today is going to be my peaceful day. How about you? Michael?
Morning, everyone. Today is going to be my peaceful day. How about you? It's a good place to start, right? Every day. So I want to, first of all, give a shout out. Oh, there you are. To Amanda and Lisa sitting over there who did our wonderful workshop yesterday. Again. Because I was here and it was a wonderful, just fabulous experience, wasn't it? And you can see the results of that experience by looking at our beautiful tapestry over there. You may have not seen it yet. If you came in late, we invite you to go up and spend some time with it, because that beautiful tapestry is the work that everyone who was in that workshop produced. And it has great meaning to it. And not to mention, it's just beautiful to look at. Just blew me away when we saw it this morning. So thank you to both of you for that. When you look, and that really impacted me. It really touched me in terms of even talking with you today about things changed in what I wanted to say, with the basic core being the same. But when you look at that tapestry and go look at the individual pieces up there, one thing you can take note of is that the foundation at the very bottom of everyone's tree, because those are supposed to be trees, and they all look like trees actually. Some are modernistic, some are a little bit weird looking, and they're all beautiful. The foundation expresses what each person stands for, the person doing that piece. And as you move up the branches of the trees, you'll see the values that support what that person stands for. So the question I came out of that with and had to address when I was sitting there, and it was a very mindful process for me, is what do I stand for? And that's a good question to ask yourself, isn't it? What do I stand for? Who am I and what do I stand for? Because that question sets the stage for how I want life to show up through me. Not just for me, but through me. How do I want life to move through me and show up? Ernest Holmes, the founder of religious science, put it like this: you and I are expressions of a universal mind that contains within itself limitless possibility. It's the same thing Mary Beth was talking about before when she talked about not only new thought, but also talking about quantum physics, the same idea. We're part of an infinite field of infinite possibility. So right now, when I say that question is, what do I stand for and how do I want to show up in life? That's another way to put it. Who am I, how do I want to show up here? Wayne Dyer, anyone ever follow Wayne Dyer? And you can still hear his talks. He was just wonderful. He's still speaking to us. He used to ask this question: what do you get when you squeeze an orange? Anyone know the answer to that question? Orange juice. Very good. You get orange juice. So a question for me to ask myself then is, and for you to ask yourself is, what do you get when you squeeze you? What comes out of you when you squeeze you? What do you stand for? Who are you? Who am I? When I squeeze myself, and I squeeze myself a lot, let's all squeeze ourselves. Doesn't it feel good? When I squeeze myself, lots of stuff comes out. Some of it is a wonderful reflection of who I am and what I stand for. Some of it, not so much. I'm saying, whoa, what's that? What's that doing there? But that's the truth. What I really stand for, and it's at the bottom of my tree, is kindness. That's what I stand for. And at the top of my tree is peace. And I believe that as I stand in kindness, as I act out of kindness, as I be kind, that's going to create peace. It creates peace in my life, and as it creates it in my life, I'm creating it for this entire planet. And that's true for each of you, for every one of us. That's the important role we play in what we're doing here today. And the most important thing we could be doing in the midst of what's going on this planet right now. What can we do? Be peace, be love, be kind. What do you stand for? But to get there, those are all great words and platitudes. It's easy to hear, easy to think about, but it takes some work. Like I said, when I squeeze myself, a lot of interesting stuff comes out sometimes. Surprise, where'd that come from? To get there, I need to release and move beyond anything that doesn't look like kindness and peace. In other words, I need to release any old preconceived beliefs and ideas that I have, that I've grown up with, that I still carry around. You notice that stuff still ekes its way out there. This morning, we pull some cards every morning. We have a card deck. There's lots of different card decks with affirmations, and we have one from Martha Creek. Some of you may know her. She's wonderful. The card I pulled this morning, loved it. What old patterns are running my show? But you know, I got that right before I came in here this morning. What old patterns are running my show? The master teacher said this. The master teacher, Jesus, told us that truly I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. And where is that kingdom of heaven? We have to be like children to get in the kingdom. And what he meant is, I need a beginner's mind. I need to let go of that old baggage and stuff I've been carrying about. What old patterns are running my show? So my work is to find my way back to the garden, to get back there again. And to do this, and this was a quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson, I have to take my bloated nothingness out of the path of the divine circuits. I love that. I have to get my bloated nothingness out of the way. Mary Beth spoke about that wonderful affirmation from the Buddhist monk that today is going to be my peaceful day. Well, it was several days ago on Thursday, I started my day with that affirmation, and we've been doing it all week. And it was, if you remember Thursday, remember that we had summer again. Do you recall that day? It was sunshiny here. It was absolutely beautiful. The sun was out. It was warm. It was just fantastic. And so I started my morning after we did our meditation and after I made my affirmation that today is going to be a peaceful day by taking our two beautiful dogs out for a walk, Maggie and Tater Tot. Yes, and Tater Tot looks like a tater tot. I took them out the front door as I usually do, and I have them on an extender leash. And the extender leash lets them get out about 15 feet or so. So I open the door, going out on my carefree way, being peaceful. And as I open the door and they start going out, right in front of my door, now out about maybe 20 feet or so, 25 feet on the sidewalk, is a young man walking his dog. And my dogs see the dog and they go crazy. And they start yelping, and they just go flying out the door. Now, I have them on an extender leash, right? And they go flying out there. I figure, okay, we're cool. They can't make it to the sidewalk. I know that. We've done this before. The other dog starts going crazy, too. But it turns out that other dog was not on a leash. So the next thing I know, the other dog is running out onto my lawn, and pretty soon the dogs are on top of each other, and I'm trying to pull them back. The young man now, fortunately, got his hands around the dog and pulled him back. And the dog wasn't vicious. I know the dog. It was just a 50-pound, very rambunctious puppy. More than a puppy, but 50 pounds worth. And so, but my dogs go crazy when they see that, so I was concerned. So anyways, we got through that moment. But then what happened is I lost it. I lost my stuff. And I got very angry. And I started yelling at this young man about putting a leash on his dog because he's supposed to have a leash on and all that stuff. And I just went there totally. I lost it. Was I being kind and peaceful in that moment? I don't think so. I mean, I was okay with it in the moment because I was being direct and it was what I was feeling, but I wasn't being kind or peaceful either. And this young man had no bad intent. As a matter of fact, he came by the house later that afternoon and apologized. He didn't mean any harm. He was just taking his dog for a walk. It was a beautiful day. Take him off leash, let him go. So I've gotten clear in the days since this happened. I've thought about that incident, and I realized that I need to clear and release anything within me that would allow me to go to that place. It doesn't mean I'm not going to feel angry or some anxiety now and then. I'm not telling myself or you or anyone not to feel the emotions. But the question is, what do I do with it? If I go far enough with it, that's how wars begin. That's how fights begin and wars begin. And if I want to be peaceful, then I have to live out of peace. If I want to be kind, then I have to express kindness. That's the work for me to do. I have to ask myself, what old patterns are running my show? I love that affirmation. What old patterns are running my show? A beginner's mind means that I really need to let go of my preconceived ideas. One of our teachers, Dr. James Mellon, always says, he starts out oftentimes when we do classes and we study quantum physics and a lot of advanced consciousness with him, he he starts out with this affirmation, I know nothing. Now show me what I need to know. I know nothing, so show me what I need to know. And I love that. I know nothing, now show me what I need to know. It also means I'm going to do the work here. And there's work involved in this. You know, we often say this in New Thought. You walk in, these principles are beautiful, aren't they? And Mary Beth talked about the 5 principles. We love them. And it's pretty much the same in all areas of New Thought, religious science, divine science, very similar ideas. And I love those. They're simple, easy to understand, right? But not so easy to use sometimes. And that's where the rubber meets the road. It's easy. The song, the Ricky Byers song that we sang this morning, I love that song. Thank you, Kim. Love, love, love everybody. Love even when it's hard to love. I think Lisa and Amanda, you said something yesterday about even villains need a village. People to love them. You know, that's not easy. It's not easy for me, I'll say. That's the work I have to do. The people that don't seem so easy to love, but that's the work I need to do within myself. I need about kindness and lovingness. I need to look beyond the appearances. And that was exactly what the teacher Jesus was talking about when he said, turn the other cheek. It wasn't about turn the other cheek so you can get slapped on the other one. He meant turn the other cheek so we can look in a different way. Look at the appearances in a different way. Mary Beth said there are appearances going on this planet now, and it might seem like we can't stop them dead in their tracks, but what we can do is we can change how we view them. We can take them into a bigger, higher picture of life, knowing that there is an unfoldment taking place that is going to ultimately be for good. And it doesn't mean that we don't speak up along the way. It doesn't mean that I don't have a responsibility to voice my opinion and show, but I have to keep doing my work in that process. I can't afford the luxury of the negative thinking that I could easily go to. And sometimes when I start to go there, I'm very blessed that I have Mary Beth to kind of slap me back into line, figuratively speaking. And I'll tell you this, I sometimes don't like it. When I start to go there, I don't want to hear about it, right? I can get very attached. If I get on a tirade or something, I hear something on the news, I want to go there. We've got community here to remind each other of this. That's what we do here on Sunday morning, is to remind ourselves of these truths, that, you know, there's something greater going on, that I can choose love. I can choose love. I can choose peace. We can all do that. We're all creative beings. What we think about, we bring about. Because I'm not moved by the appearances out there, the appearances move for me. And when enough of us on this planet believe in that way and practice in this way, we'll see greater and greater peace. And we're already seeing it, even though there are appearances that seem counter to that at times. But that's the responsibility we've taken, and I just acknowledge every one of you sitting here this morning who practices these things, and everyone online practicing this in this way of thinking. It's the work that we come together to do. Ernest Holmes, the founder of religious science, said this. He said, in our ignorance of the truth, we have misused the highest power we possess. And so great is this power, so complete is our freedom in it, so complete the domain of law through it, that the misuse of this power has brought upon us the very conditions from which we suffer. We are bound because we are first free. The power which appears to bind us is the only power that can set us free. That's the power of our minds. That's the power of our beliefs. The Upanishad said it like this: as far as mind extends, so extends heaven. The moment I become conscious of what I'm thinking about, what I'm believing, and it might be, thank you God for sending my dogs flying out the door like they did, and it took me a while to recover from that. I had to do some prayer around that. I was shaken up. But it was something for me to look at. Why did that happen? It happened because I have some stuff going, old patterns that I need to let go of that are running the show. and I want to run the show in my life. That's what happens when we start doing this work. You're going to attract things to us that may seem like, well, why is this showing up in my life? I'm peaceful, I'm loving, and I'm doing this work. It's there to guide us, to lead us, to help us to grow and to know more. So I'm going to end this talk with a meditation. And the meditation this morning, rather than sitting and doing a meditation, we're going to show you this amazing and beautiful video of the monks on their pilgrimage with some amazing music with it. So please take this in and enjoy it.
We rise before the daylight breaks, dust on our feet, hope in our hands. Long roads stretch beyond our sight, your kindness shows us where to stand. Through towns and fields, through joy and pain, we carry more than what we see. Every step a quiet vow, to walk with love, to walk as one. When the world feels torn apart and hearts grow tired, afraid and weak, we remember why we walk, because peace begins with me. We walk for peace, step by step, through the cold, through tears, through time, not to escape this wounded world, but to heal it one heart at a time. We walk for peace, hand in hand, let compassion be our way, from silent prayers to open arms. Peace is born in how we walk each day. Strangers become familiar faces, sharing water, warmth and truth. Stories spoken without words, in gentle smiles and worn out shoes. We listen more than we explain, let stillness teach us how to see that every soul we pass along is walking to just differently. In the weight of history's scars and the echoes of old pain, we choose not anger, not despair, but loving kindness once again. We walk for peace, step by step, through the doubt, through night and rain, not chasing dreams that live far off, but planting hope where we remain. We walk for peace, breath by breath, let mindfulness light the way. In every pause, in every step, peace is practiced, not just prayed. Peace is not somewhere else, not a finish line ahead. It lives in how we listen, in every word we never said. When we soften our reactions, when we choose to understand, the world begins to change its course through the kindness of our hands. Children laugh along the road, elders bow with knowing eyes. Different faiths, one shared wish to let suffering slowly subside. We bless the ground beneath our feet and those who walk with us in spirit, for no one walks this path alone when love is what we carry. We walk for peace, side by side, not perfect but awake and true. Every step a living prayer, for me, for them, for you. We walk for peace today right here, in families, streets and homes, because the path to peace on earth is walked by human hearts alone. So when the road feels long and hard and the world feels heavy still, just breathe, be kind, take one more step. is how we walk for peace.
Just take that into our hearts. Okay, let's take a deep breath. Thank you, God.